We are here in the main building of Gateway International Airport. I am here as a guest of Lethra, the airport's owner. Lethra agreed to tell me more about the airport in an interview after I filmed a video report for the Aviation podcast. Thank you for having me here and for your readiness to answer my questions. Gateway is an exceptionally elaborate airport. Where did you get the experience and knowledge to build an airport like this?
First of all, I apologize for the obviously fake voice. I'm not catfishing anybody. I just tried recording this multiple times from my real-life office and it came out like absolute shit, as Metmes can attest. My real voice is sort of like this, but with a Brooklyn accent. I sound kind of like a lesbian gangster from a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Anyway, the Gateway would not be nearly as complex without my friends Edo Dem Air Zell and baby doll Suki, whom I call Dolly. Dolly has a number of parcels in the area, and when I first bought the land, she just randomly showed up and built almost all of the roads. It was amazing. I did not have a lot of building experience at the time, and the most fun and interesting roads like from the Linden Road all the way down to the harbor would have been completely impossible without her. She also did the mountains and cliffs that the airport sits on, which has become a major feature of the whole thing. Edo has a ton of experience and an uncanny ability to take some random idea of mine and go,
"Okay, I will do that now,"
and build it in a matter of hours. If you're at Gateway and thinking, wow, this is super logical, well-planned, and easy to navigate, it was probably built by Edo.
How do the surrounding tenants feel about the airport? Do they benefit from it, or do they feel disturbed by it?
Overall, we have great relationships with the neighbors. Dolly is one of our main neighbors, as is another friend of mine who owns that junkyard along the southern edge of Cochrane. Everyone thinks that's part of Gateway, but it's not. Anyway, they both fully support the airport because it drives traffic to their own land. We were able to clear out a lot of ban lines a few years ago by just offering to buy people's parcels. That was a smart move. Expensive, but smart. The land to the south is all owned by Linden Labs, and they rent it out for events a couple of times a year. We built a second runway so we can stay open even if one of those regions has an event in it. But 99.9% of the time, they're totally empty. The only trouble spots are two parcels with ban lines in central Cochrane. They're small, but they're in the worst possible spot if you're trying to land in Megan from the north. Those have been there since I bought the land, and they've never responded to my offers to buy them out. But very few people try to fly through that area anyway, so it really doesn't affect us.
When flying on the mainland, you have to be prepared for anything, especially ban lines over properties. What has been your experience with this? What assistance can you offer pilots who want to fly from Gateway to one of the other airfields you own, Chamonix City and Sierra Gulf?
I have been waiting for someone to ask me this question for years. Here's my advice. First, be zen about it. Just accept that sometimes it will happen no matter how hard you try to avoid them, just like crashing on a sim crossing. When you do hit one, remember where it is so you can avoid it next time. Second, plan your route in advance. In some parts of the mainland, you can kind of fly around aimlessly and know you'll be in orb-free regions the whole time. That's not the case here, so it's worth your time to look at the map and talk to other pilots who are familiar with the area before you go, especially if you're taking passengers. If you want recommendations on how to do that easily, send me a note card. Third, when you do plan your route, take advantage of as much protected land as possible. Roads, rivers, all water sims, and other public airports are a safe bet. Another good option is abandoned land. No landowners means no orbs, so look for regions that are completely empty or nearly empty on the world map. In my experience, the riskiest regions are the ones with a bunch of small parcels, especially if they're near water. If you want to get to one of my airports specifically, I made a tutorial video on YouTube about flying from Gateway to Chamonix. as that seems to be the most challenging. I updated if there are major changes to the route, so if you watch the video you can get to Chamonix with no problem. Flying in there is super fun. So is spending money.
What impact do the new continents being established by Linden Lab in the south have on Gateway?
I love it. When we first opened, you had to fly over at least 20 landlocked regions, most of which looked exactly the same to get from Gateway to the Blake Sea area. That, of course, increased the risk of security orbs, even though orbs are theoretically subject to certain restrictions in Belisaria. And unless you had some kind of navigation device, which most pilots don't, intercontinental flights were quite difficult. But the more land they build that's actually safe for vehicles, the more people come down here, and the more traffic we get. I've definitely noticed an uptick over the past 2 years or so.
You can be found not only at your own airfields, but also at others where you have rented a parking spot or a hangar, such as at Saint-Aubray. You also run your own airline and a flight school. Where does your deep interest in flying in Second Life come from?
I have some real-life aviation experience, but for various reasons I haven't been able to do much flying in the past 10 years or so. I joined Second Life for the kinky stuff, not gonna lie, and I didn't know flying existed in SL until some guy tried to impress me by taking me up in his Concorde. He took off way too fast and we crashed on the second region crossing, which was a pretty good metaphor for everything about that guy. But I still got the bug, and I'm kind of a type A, so of course I had to be the best pilot with the best airports and best airline and the funniest self-effacing podcast jokes in Second Life.
What is your personal passion at Gateway?
My passion at Gateway and all of my airports is making them stand out from the crowd and finding that perfect balance of realism and SL friendliness that makes you feel like you're actually doing what you're role-playing. I want people to feel like they're actually traveling somewhere unique and beautiful when they come to my places, and frankly, I hope that it inspires other builders to try to outdo me. That makes SL Aviation a more immersive and entertaining experience for everyone.
Okay, that was it. Thank you very much for your readiness for giving me this interview.